Just me, a place to be me, where you get to experience life. 'Cause life is a journey, not a guided tour.
Hello, this is Sharina Smith from Just Me Podcast. And today we have Mr. Paul. Hello, this is Sharina Smith from Just Me Podcast. And today we have Mr. Paul. Hello, Mr. Paul.
Hey, how are you?
And we are going to talk about online dating. As you all are aware, this month we have been talking about the positives and the negatives regarding online dating and how we would like for you all to feel relaxed as it relates to online dating and having realistic expectations regarding online dating. So today we're going to ask Mr. Parson questions and we're going to see how his experience has been. Okay, Mr. Paul, how has dating impacted your mental health, positively or negatively?
So I know with online dating, the past couple years, more so, it has impacted me, I would say, in a negative way, only because I feel like at this point in time, or at least when I was online dating at that time, I was in a place where I was ready to date and find somebody and pretty much like, connect and build on something. We often go through those stages where, you match with somebody, you talk maybe like endless hours throughout the day, then you actually hang out, and then after that hangout, it becomes like a non-existent situation. So with those situations that I've had in the past, it kind of made me have like or made it a negative like impacted me very negatively to where I often was thinking to myself like, well, what am I doing wrong? Or is there something that I said? Is it a way that I acted? Or was it just not there to begin with, but you were just entertaining to see if you can force it to be there? So I've had, I would say, more so negative impact mentally than positive with online dating.
Okay, so the questions that you expressed, like, where are we going? Or
hmm
different open-ended questions, did you feel very comfortable asking that person those questions?
Yeah, so with me, as soon as I entertain the idea that we're gonna date or we're gonna get to know each other, I make it like known as soon as we match or whatever the case is. I'm not
Okay,
here for like short term. I'm not here to like fool around. I'm here to really go long term with it and
okay.
actually like build on that. If that's not something that you are looking for at the moment, then I totally respect that. We can be friends. But if it is something that you do want to build on, okay, cool. Then we can work towards that. So from those experiences, it's always been, yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, I want to explore long term, but then it's like your actions don't follow behind that.
Oh, I'm very, very proud of you because you know what you're looking for when you going into dating and within online. So what I'm hearing is that you set expectations up front, right?
Correct.
Yes. So you stated that you're in this to find someone. So if someone is not willing to, if they're not where you are, you express that up front so they know up front as it relates to who you are and what your expectations are.
Correct.
And basically, what you're expressing is you're doing this, and I think you're doing an excellent job as it relates to going in initially and setting these boundaries. But what I'm hearing you say is that while you're doing it and during the time you're doing it, you're noticing a shift in people's behaviors.
Correct. Right. There's definitely a shift in people's behaviors that I am noticing. Um, Depending on sometimes like how deep we're into the getting to know each other stages or like the kind of conversations that we may be having, I would either address it right then and like right when I started to notice like a couple things and just say like, "Hey, I've been noticing XYZ. Is something wrong?" If it's one of those situations where like we're not really connecting on that level just yet, I may just let it slide up
Okay.
until it gets to a point where like, okay, I'm not gonna continue letting it slide. Let me go ahead and address it now. Um, and I feel like it's very common because I've spoken to like other friends about this too. I feel like it's very common, and at least for my experience, I can't speak for others. In the LGBTQ plus community, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are so focused on having that person,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not willing, in my opinion, to put in the work, or they're not willing to compromise to keep that person, or really like, stand 10 toes on being committed. So I feel like there's often this image or facade where you say what you want, but really you just like the idea of it, not
Mm-hmm.
the reality of it.
Mm-hmm. And something that you express is something I discuss a lot in therapy. Like, really, in order to have effective relationships, you have to know who you are, right?
Hmm.
Have to know your values and your beliefs. And what we find, or what I find happens at times, is people don't know their values, they don't know their beliefs. And what they're doing is they are trying to shift to try to fit into whatever situation that they're in. So, once
Hmm.
again, I'm very proud of you because you set your expectations, you put them out there, you make them clear, and you're following up to ensure that your expectations are being met. Now, another thing you said is like giving people grace.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that grace as it relates
So
to letting something slide for a while, but then coming back and addressing it.
yeah, so for me, I think grace looks different depending on the circumstance, and
Okay.
the person. Um, like let's say like my most recent situation that I was encountering, um, we were, engaging, we were talking, like hanging out. Then there was a shift in the whole engagement. From there, went ahead and addressed it. They came back and were like, and they said basically, hey, I'm going through like a little depression phase right now.
Mhm.
Not feeling the best, sorry for not being open about it. And I was like, okay, like, no worries. Like, I just wanted to check in to see where things were going. Just because, like, there was a shift. But I was like, take your time with, getting better. Um, I'll be around if you like want to continue like getting to know each other. Then they were like, okay, that's fine. Like, I want to continue getting to know you. Like, once I get out of this phase, we'll go from there. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. Maybe like a week had gone by, and then we kind of picked it back up, and
Mhm.
then again there was a shift. Um, so after that second shift, again, I readdressed it, and it was like kind of the situation where they were like, "Oh, it's not you, it's me. I'm just still going through things." And again, I'm probably like, in my opinion, like I'm super understanding of things. I know life happens. We all go through things. We all have a change in emotions or whatever the case is. But also at the same time, you make time for what you want, but also in my opinion, I think it's also good to have someone help you navigate through these different emotions or phases in your life that you may want a support system. So after, that second time where it was like, okay, you're giving me the same kind of excuse, it's okay. Like, we don't gotta do nothing going forward. I'm gonna let you be, focus on yourself, whatever that looks like, and I'm gonna focus on me. So the grace, like I said, it looks different depending on the circumstance and the person. The more I'm interested in you, the more I'm gonna give you a grace, but that grace isn't gonna look like a slap in the face every single time, or it's not gonna look like I'm letting you pass every single time so you can run me over like a doll.
Oh my God,
So
I just love
yeah.
this. Okay. Once again, here we go. You're addressing things on the spot. Like you're not allowing things to go on and on 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks.
Right.
What you're doing is you're bringing it to, hey, this is what I'm noticing. I'm noticing a shift. What is going on? And what you're doing is when you're asking these questions, it's almost like, okay, where's the accountability?
Right.
What they're telling you is that, hey, it's not you, it's me. Okay, that lets us know that there's something going on with you. And this is not the first time I've seen it. I've done seen
Right.
it several times. And I always tell people if you constantly check in, eventually they will move themselves out the way, or you have enough information to remove yourself. Because
Hmm.
at this time period, you have to say, you know what, is this a good fit for me? Because it's
Right.
like they're constantly shifting.
Right.
Wonderful. Do you feel that there's a lot of anxiety or stress and stress associated with online dating?
Um, I I wouldn't say there's stress or anxiety when it comes
Okay.
to online dating. At least for my personal experience. Luckily, I've had the pleasure to, have options. When I am online dating, I get the notification, so and so has liked your picture, go ahead and swipe to match, So for me, I don't ever have stress or anxiety going into online dating because I know what I offer, I know what I look like, and I know that I'm very like straightforward with things and what I want. So that never gave me stress or anxiety. So I wouldn't say for me like it gives me anything of that.
Okay, good. And once again, I think because you know who you are,
Hmm.
sounds like you have good confidence within yourself. That speaks volumes as it relates
Hmm.
to navigating through online dating. Do you feel that online dating at times create unrealistic expectations about relationships?
Um, I would say yes,
Okay.
if it's with the right person.
Okay.
If let's say, you have your own expectations of what a real relationship looks like and like in the real world, and like, what you look for.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel like if you are online dating and you don't mention these things to the other person, but yet the other person happens to check mark all your green flags, if you say,
Okay.
then I feel like once you start noticing all these good things that that person is doing, then yes, they are pretty much confirming your reality of a relationship because they're doing what you want them to do without you telling them or having even expressed that conversation to them, and
Okay.
they're doing those acts of service or they're giving you those affirmations that you maybe want to look for. So I think online dating can definitely set those expectations of a relationship in in real life. um but also it can also create, I feel like, false narratives of what a relationship is like, just because there is also kind of like a negative outcome to online dating.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. And yes, from what you're saying, it's very important that, you know, people have expectations as it relates to online dating. Because if you don't go in with any type of expectations, it's a possibility you can get so many things. And it
Right.
sounds like to you, as I said earlier, you have expectations. And because you have expectations, you know what you're looking for and you know what to expect. And if it's not what you're looking for or what your expectations are, then you have to make that decision if you want to move forward.
Correct.
Go ahead.
And I was gonna say, going off of how you just explained it that way, as far as like with expectations, I feel like it's very important, right, to, have those expectations, but also make yourself aware that those expectations that you're expecting are, of course, um, realistic.
Yes.
Like, don't obviously set yourself up by having multiple expectations that 9 times out of 10, that person is not going to fulfill for you. Or you're not going to find that anywhere because maybe there's a 1% chance that only 1% of the population is able to actually fulfill those expectations. So yeah, that's something I would say, like, definitely, like, keep your expectations very real with yourself, but also things that are obtainable.
Okay. Okay. Now, as we close up, is there any type of advice you want to give our listeners as it relates to online dating?
Um, if there is any advice I would give, I guess, to listeners in regards to online dating, I would say, um, there is true love that you can find in online dating. Um, there are there is going to be a lot of hiccups during the time that you find someone. But I would say, like, when you find the one in online dating, or if you know that you like this is the person that you want to, you know, pursue, whatever the case is, make that very much apparent, not only to yourself, but like to them. Sometimes people want to be embraced. Sometimes they want to feel, heard, or whatever the case is. So, just make sure you're, I would say, doing those things. And then, of course, if that is the right person for you, you'll also be receiving that back as well from that person.
Okay, well, listeners, we want to thank Mr. P for coming on today. He has given us good advice as it relates to online dating. Some of the things that he expressed is like really knowing who you are. So basically, knowing who you are when you're going into online dating, knowing what type of values and beliefs that you have. Something we heard him express is constantly communicating, checking in, checking in with people so they can provide feedback. Also, we can give grace, but we can't give a whole lot of grace to the point where we're the person behind it.
Right.
Tell me about the laughter.
Right. 'Cause grace is important. Coming from me, I've, you know, done my dirty work in the past to where maybe I had encountered people who gave me all the grace, but then I wasn't given that back in return. So, during the time of, when I was in a place where, I wasn't doing what I wanted in return, that definitely helped me really, like, focus in on, like, am I bringing to the table what I'm expecting? Am I treating people the way I'm wanting to be treated? Am
Mhm.
I extending out positive energy, grace to people, even though I'm expecting that from other people? So there's a lot of communication that I had to do with myself to really
Mhm.
get to where I'm at today, to where, I know what it is that I want with online dating. I know what I'm looking for. I don't overcompromise myself either because I don't want to lose myself once again in doing all that. So I get to see me here now versus to who I was before, grace is a very important thing, I would say.
Um, Well, thank you so much, Mr. P. Mr. P. I really, really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm just so proud of you as it relates to, once again, knowing who you are, know your values and beliefs. And we just appreciate you coming on today and giving our listeners some pointers as it relates to online dating. And another thing I heard, and I'm so happy about this. You said something about support too. So
Mhm.
if anyone needs some support, you can reach out to us with Just Be Podcasting Consulting or receive support as it relates to really, once again, figuring out who you are. What is it you want regarding online dating? And once again, take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Thank you so much for listening to Just Me Therapy podcast. If you are seeking further one-on-one diagnoses, interventions, and treatment plans, please consider scheduling an appointment with an individual counselor at Journeys Counseling Center, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. Journeys can be reached at 336-294-1349. The mission of Just Me Therapy podcast is to use authentic conversations to uplift one's mind, body, and soul. The goal of Just Me Therapy is to offer affordable education and insight to individuals who experience financial barriers to accessing individualized behavioral health care services. With that being said, the information, including opinions, advice, and recommendations discussed in this podcast, are intended for individual, informational, and educational purposes only. Such information is not intended to substitute the recommendations of your own licensed therapist or healthcare professional. Although we are licensed behavioral health professionals, we are not your licensed behavioral health professional. As a result, the advice mentioned on this podcast should not replace the recommendations offered by your own qualified health professional.